Moving into our second segment of the day, we have questions on the student loan debt forgiveness plan. There's different ways of phrasing it, but it's being heard by the Supreme Court. We covered this in yesterday's episode where these leftists, these Democrats want their student loans forgiven. Well, we got questions on this. And then when Peter Alexander of NBC gets in the mix here on the second question, folks, it's a question and it's a back and forth between him and Karine, and he does a good job here of pushing back on her. But let's hear the first question and then we'll jump into his.
I wanted to ask you about the student loan arguments that were before the Supreme Court yesterday, and many justices seem to take issue with the program. And I wonder if the administration has a message to those who have had loans already forgiven and are kind of in limbo right now. And given the skepticism from a lot of the justices, are there any plans from the administration in the event that you don't have the authority or the authority is struck down?
So a couple of things. The plan that we put forward in August is the plan that we have, right? Which is also a plan that you heard the Solicitor General really defend in a very strong and powerful way yesterday, and that's our plan. And we believe in our legal authority to get that done, to get it implemented. And let's not forget, it is a good plan. It is a plan that's going to give American families, middle-class families who truly need it, individuals who truly need it, up to $20,000 in relief, to give that, again, a little bit breathing room for, again, working families and middle-class Americans. You heard, I don't know if you saw this, but Secretary of Education sent out an email to borrowers yesterday and basically saying that we have their back. And I think that's also very important. That's the message that we sent to borrowers who need this opportunity right now as we're coming out of this pandemic, going through this pandemic, a little bit, again, of breathing room.
I guess my
Can I just clarify, in personal finance, there's a difference between needs and wants. And even the way you do your budgeting, you have the essentials, but you have the needs and wants as well. People may want this money, but it's not up to the government to declare if you need the money or not. You might have student loans, but you don't necessarily need the money. You're able to make your payments, but you just want that money. Vast difference here. And the reason why I bring that up is because the government just decides when people need things, when in actuality they may not actually need it. Prime example, the COVID-19 stimulus checks. They just handed them out like it's hotcakes. Not everybody needed stimulus checks. Not everybody was in that category of that need. Some people, I guess everybody would want free money with air quotes, because it's coming out of our pockets at the end of the day. That's why we see record inflation, or at least 40-year high inflation. But it's just amazing to me that she's going to tell, well, we're going to dictate who needs it. There's no criteria for this. You got a student loan? Well, good. Here's some debt relief. Basically, here's some money. It's a redistribution of wealth is what it is. Screw everybody else that never went to college. Screw everybody else that already paid off their loans and actually put in the work to do it. But somehow you have a right to this money somehow. And we broke this whole thing down, so I'm not going to regurgitate it all, but we broke it down in yesterday's episode as to why this doesn't follow suit with the HEROES Act of 2003, whereas for service members to have their loans put on hold while they were literally in a war zone or there's a national emergency going on. And what they're trying to do here is apply this forgiveness to the national emergency, the pandemic of COVID-19, even though the president has come out and said, hey, the pandemic's over. And that's why you had Jackie Heinrich of Fox News many months ago question her on that very same thing of how are you able to use the HEROES Act of 2003 when it's talking about servicemen and women going to war, or there's a national emergency, but you can't apply either because there's not a war going on, nor is there a national emergency declared by the own president of the United States that wants to push us through in the first place. So how does this happen? She goes, well, it's the law. We have the right to do it. It was given to the education secretary, the secretary of education. They have the right to do it. Even though you have the own legislatures that we saw, the own people that wrote the whole thing, the 20-year veteran going, hey, it wasn't for a blanket loan cancellation. It wasn't even for a loan cancellation at all. But somehow they're going to say it's gonna cancel everybody's loans up to a certain threshold. It is so head-spinning that she actually thinks this is going to get through. I would be baffled, you guys, if the Supreme Court actually pushed this through.
The question is, if that plan is deemed unconstitutional, is there a backup plan?
No, I just said that's our plan. This is our focus right now is getting this done.
We understand it's your plan. We get it. The question was, is there a plan B? Is there another plan if this plan doesn't work? You're on the same page with me, right, guys? Right? I mean, am I losing it here? Could somebody write in the chat, be like, Brad, no, you're sane, you're good. Because I swear, I'm starting to feel crazy listening to this lady. I almost wanted to stop doing press briefings for a while because I'm literally starting to feel a little bit psycho in my own head going like, am I hearing the right thing? Because it messes with your head all the time when you hear her, she's giving a clear question, do you have a plan B? And she goes, well, it is our plan. Like, what?
You saw the Solicitor General really give a strong argument yesterday in front of the highest court of the land. There's a reason why we took it to the Supreme Court, because we believe that we have legal authority. And let's not forget who this helps. It helps teachers, it helps firefighters, nurses, police officers. That is who we're talking about, and giving that extra little time, an extra breathing room to make sure that they can either start a family or buy a house. And let's not forget, when that happens, when that occurs, it actually puts money back into.
Folks, again, as somebody that teaches personal finance, I'm not saying I know everything. I know far from everything. If you can't afford to pay off your student loans, if you can't afford to pay off even $10,000, $20,000 of student loans, you probably are not in the position to be buying a house. Like, not even close. If you can't get your finances in order for debt, I'm not talking about mortgage, just debt in general, credit cards, auto loans, heck, student loans, of which we're talking about here, you probably shouldn't be thinking about buying a house for quite a while.
The community and helps the economy more broadly.
Okay.
So there's a plan B supposedly in there somewhere. Everybody's baffled by this, and that's why we have a follow-up here from Peter Alexander of NBC News, and he has an exchange with her here because she's going to say they have a plan B, basically, and he goes, well, what's the plan B? And then hear her response as to what plan B is, because she'll get clear at the very end, but he has to do some prying and pushing just to get a very clear answer from somebody that always says that things are clear.
Follow up on a separate question that was asked by one of my colleagues in the room about the student loans and the wait for the decision from the Supreme Court as it relates to this. I know that you said earlier that there is no other plan. The plan right now is the one that's being presented before the Supreme Court, and you feel strongly in your case. Obviously, those who have loans that they would owe in case this is rejected don't have that same ability. They have to have a backup plan in case. I know that 2 months would pass before they would have to pay those loans again in case the Supreme Court rejects this here. But what do you say to those Americans who have tens of thousands of dollars that they might be responsible for 2 months after the court makes its decision if they choose to reject it?
Yeah.
How should they be preparing right now for that, and what would you do to protect
And
them?
I'll just add that yesterday, right in front of the Supreme Court, you saw many of those Americans speaking out loud and clear and saying how important the president's plan is to them, because they're being crushed.
But what should be
No,
the plan B?
what-
Because everybody who has their own budget at home has to have a plan B.
I hear you, Peter, and you asked me what the message was.
God, I hear you, Peter. No, lady, you don't hear him. That's the thing. You don't hear anybody in that room. I'm sorry if no one's ever told you to your face, but you barely hear anything. And if you do hear it, you hear it incorrectly. You got a problem. I've been so outspoken about this on the show. Somebody, for the love of God, in that room that watches this show, because we know some people do, can anybody just please just ask her and do it kindly, whether it's behind closed doors or on camera? I don't care which one, saying, ma'am, do you honestly hear our questions? Because very rarely do you actually answer our questions. You give something totally different. You're making stuff up in your head. I mean, that's not normal, you guys. This isn't even a political thing. It's so not normal. There's something else going on. She's either off the reservation or she's just playing some stupid game here, a game of ridiculousness, of lying to the American people. I don't know which one it is. Maybe you can let me know, but it is so baffling.
To the American people. You heard, I just laid out or mentioned how Secretary of Education sent an email out to those borrowers saying that, hey, we have your back. This is an administration, when you think about the president.
If you're going to have their back, and this goes back to everybody's question, the first guy and then Peter Alexander here, if you have their back, then what's going to happen if this doesn't go through? What's the plan B if you're claiming to have their back because they're going to owe all this money of which you say they're going to have their back on? What is it, Karine?
And the last couple of years here, that is kind of his motto, right? We have your back. We will do everything that we can to protect Americans and give them, again, some space to actually be able to be part of this growing economy. And so, look, we do not have another plan. This is our plan. This is it. We believe that we have the legal authority. That's why we took it to the highest court of the land, the Supreme Court.
We finally got an answer. We finally got an answer. There is no plan. Can you imagine entrusting these people to get your debt forgiven. Can you imagine? There's not even a plan B for any of this. This is all they got. People are going to vote for this guy for a second. I'm sorry. I'm losing it right now, but dude, this is hilarious. These idiots are running our White House and our government. And people actually believe in them. That he's going to solve crime. I mean, literally, Joe Biden came out and said he's going to solve cancer. And now they're going to forgive your loans. Oh, my God. It's such a clown show.
Court, and we're going to continue to fight. And you saw the Solicitor General do a fantastic job in putting forth a strong argument defending the president's plan.
Just to be clear, though, so you don't have another plan, which is to say for those other, and you have those individuals' backs, which is to say if this is rejected, though, there isn't anything in the works right now by this administration.
What I'm saying to you, Peter, what I'm saying to you, Peter, is this is our plan. It is a good plan because how it helps Americans across the country, especially working Americans, middle-class Americans. So this is our plan. And you heard it. You heard it. The reason I mentioned the folks that were in front of Supreme Court. And I said they should know that we are going to continue to fight, that we feel strong in our legal authority here. And you heard it. You heard it from the SG yesterday, who defended it. The president's plan in a forceful way in front of the Supreme Court.
Has the president spoken to Jimmy?
You can do a forceful way, but that doesn't mean you're correct. I mean, they're so far off the beaten path. And like I said, you guys, just by looking at it and analyzing it, I really would be shocked if the Supreme Court went through with this, said, yeah, it's constitutional, it's legal according to the HEROES Act. I don't see it happening. But let me know what you think in the comment section below, because according to her, she doesn't need a plan B. It's going to go through. That's as if what they're talking about here. Heck, I don't know. I hope you enjoyed that clip from the Bald Brad Show. If you did, make sure to hit that subscribe button so you can stay up to date on all our future content.